Hi, thank you all so much for coming. I'm really touched to see so many people here, people I know, new faces, people I just met this weekend, and people I've never encountered before. So this is really awesome. Thank you for coming. Uh, see, here's what we're going to talk about today. There we go. Here's the slide deck. We're going to cover why we play competitive pinball. Why are the people who are gathered in that area down there, why are they all here? What drives us to be here? We're going to talk about how to find competitive pinball. Where can you find the tournaments that you have to go to? Where's league? How do you get involved? We're going to talk about what it's like to go to a tournament night or a league night and what you can expect. We're going to cover youth players in pinball, so younger players who are looking to get into it, parents of people who are looking into getting into pinball, how can they get into it? What scares people away from competing? What are some common barriers to entry to pinball that you have to get past to start? Navigating the tournament. What do I do once I'm there? And some do's and don'ts, some things you might want to look out for at the pinball tournament. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Friendly Flips Newcomer Tournament, which is going to be at 3 o'clock right after the conclusion of this seminar. I'm going to say that a few times today in the Southern New Hampshire Pinball Room. And I hope to see as many of you, not the experienced players, they're not allowed to play, all just the new players. I hope to see as many of you as possible at that tournament right after this. And you will all have first dibs on entry as well if it happens to fill up. So who am I? Why does this matter to me? Well, my name is Sam Keogh. I've been playing pinball for about 8 years. I live in New Hampshire. I'm 31 years old. But I only started competing about 2.5 years ago. In 2017, I went to my first pinball show, a show just like this, a little bigger. It was known as Pinburg. It was the biggest, baddest, greatest show in the world. And there was a 1,000 player match play tournament. I'm pretty sure that was the biggest tournament in the world at the time, and I remember going to that show and being like, wow, that's what I want to do. I hope I can get there someday. That would be awesome to play in something so big like that. I didn't realize there was a whole world out there outside of just the biggest thing. There were local leagues, local tournaments, things that I could go to and meet people, and that's what I hope to introduce to all of you today. Starting to compete was like one of the best things I ever did. It's introduced me to a lot of really great experiences, and it's really enriched my life in a lot of ways, and it brought me places like here and other places. And I wish that somebody had roped me into it a really long time ago, that I had somebody give a talk like this or do a tournament like the Friendly Flips Tournament and bring people into the hobby. So that's what I hope to accomplish here today. So why do we compete? Why not just play pinball competitively? Why take out time out of our Saturdays? Why go to league on a Thursday night? Why do this? The number one reason is it's fun. And I don't want that to be lost at any point in this entire talk. Everything else on this slide is almost a sub-point to this. It's all fun. If you're not having fun, you should reassess what you're doing. If it ever stops being fun, take a look at that. But it's fun to get way better at pinball. You know, you're going to play with really good players. There's really good players in these leagues all over the country, all over the world, and they're going to teach you a lot of things, and you're going to learn a lot just from watching them, playing with them. The first 5 years I played pinball casually, I didn't get much better, but once I started playing with other good players, I got a lot better, a lot quicker. You can push yourself competitively, you know. The first few times you go out and play, you'll probably score close to the bottom of the table, but you know, you'll keep playing, you'll keep getting better, you'll keep pushing yourself and finishing higher and higher, and there's a real satisfaction to that, at least for me and a lot of other people who compete. You can play some fun games you won't see in the wild. If you're playing in the club tournaments this weekend, you may have played a game like Blackjack, which is a great early solid state from the early 80s, and you don't see that game out in the wild. You don't really see that game at the pizza place. You know, going to these tournaments gets you an opportunity to play some of these rarer, harder to find, more obscure, older games that I really love, as much as I love the new games. And you can visit some private collections, some awesome collections. Go to more pinball shows like this. We play our local league at a place called the Ice Arcade. It's the world's premier Vanilla Ice themed arcade. It's my friend Chris's house, and he has 20 games, and he has us all over on Thursday night every week, and we have a great time. And I wouldn't know about that place at all if it weren't for playing Pinball League and hanging out with my friends. And that's really valuable to me. And the most important thing is you get to meet really cool people and make really great friends. And I'm so I'm so glad of all the friends I've made in this hobby, and it's been really enriching to my life. And I want that for everybody. And that's the most important thing to me here today. And here's a picture of my friends. We all went to Wisconsin to go play pinball together at District 82. We all traveled together. And these are all people I met through pinball. And that's really valuable and important to me. I'm going to ask my friend Nick Quadrini to come up and say what starting and competing in pinball means to him.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sam, and thanks everybody for coming. I'm gonna first off just echo and agree completely with everything that Sam just said. Great community, great people, a lot of fun. Love playing pinball. He's the guy who got me into it. He's gotten me into many hobbies, but I can say pretty definitively, pinball is one of the greatest ones because of the the huge community that's involved. For me, getting into competitive pinball, really the interest is kind of a combination of that competitive factor I've always had, the feeling of like I want to do better, I like competing against people, I like the tournament feeling. But one of the things that's really great about pinball is that you're not only competing against the other players, you're really competing against yourself, right? It's you against the game. What can I do to get better? And if I go up against a player who's way better than me, maybe they put up 1 billion points, but if I've never cracked 100 million and I get 102, I feel really good about myself, even if I come in third place, fourth place, right? So that's one of the things that I really enjoy about competitive pinball. You've got that me against the other players, but a lot of it is me against the machine. And then building off of some of the other things Sam said, I mean, the community is just so fantastic. Everyone's super friendly. I can remember very well my first league night. It was a place called the Double Bowl. It's a tavern up in Peabody, Mass. And the guy running it, Mitch Curtis, super shout out to Mitch. He's fantastic. But when I first met him, he said, "Welcome to Pinball League. I'm sorry I didn't make you dinner." And I thought that was a joke. He's like, "Oh, I'm not a very good host." Lots of these league hosts, are happy to make you food. They're super friendly, really inviting people. And being part of Pinball League has been fantastic for me. When I moved back to Connecticut, went out of my way to bring the New England Pinball League back into Connecticut. Now kind of helping support them in Connecticut as well. But love to play, all over New England, all over the country. And then, whenever you're traveling, it's a great way to just spend a couple of hours and say, hey, where's pinball near me? I can go and play some games. And it's always easy to meet people who know somebody who knows somebody who knows Sam and see the connection there as well. So, yeah, pinball and, competing in pinball has been fantastic for me. I really enjoy it. And my timeline is very similar to Sam's. I didn't start really playing pinball until 7-8 years ago competitively, about 2.5 years ago. I've gotten so much better because of how friendly and helpful everyone is, and I have a lot of fun with it, and I'd highly recommend. I'll just echo, I think, exactly what Sam said, that I just wish somebody had told me how cool and how much fun this would be, and not be intimidated by, oh, hey, I'm not going to compete in this 1,000-player tournament. Like, why not? You know what? It's not too challenging, and I'm sure Sam will touch on a lot of the reasons why it's worth doing as well. But yeah, it's a blast, and I'd just say, I wish I'd started doing it sooner.
All right, thank you, Nick. So here's what a day at a pinball tournament might look like for you. This is kind of modeled after just a normal day at my friend's location, the Lower Playfield in Goffstown, New Hampshire. So the doors would typically open at about 10 a.m. We show up. We play our practice games. We hang out. We say our hellos, and maybe some of us are still finishing our breakfast. At 11 a.m., the host is going to say, hey, like everybody finish up your practice games. We're going to get started. You're going to be assigned a game, and a group of players. They'll say, all right, Mitch, Nick, Alyssa, and Eric are on high speed. And so that means Mitch is player 1, Nick is player 2, etc. And you'll go and you'll play that game, and in the order you're asked to play. Sometimes you might be asked to pick a game. That could happen too. And you're going to report the results of the game on match play. It could be on a sheet. We'll explain what match play is later. I'm sorry. Or with the host. Just let them know. It's like I was first, Alyssa was second, and you'll wait for the next round to start, and you'll do that again until the tournament's over or you're out. It's really that simple. You don't have to get that tied up in knowing what the competitive format is. All you really have to know is you play the pinball machine that they ask you to play against the people that you play against, and you do your best. And if you do really well, you'll make finals or win. If you qualify for finals, you get to play more pinball, and you just play the game you're assigned just like before. Pretty simple. There's a lot of minutia that you can get lost in that's just not that important for you to know all about. There are tournament directors there and rules people that know all the rules, and if you ever have a question about the tournament rules or anything, there are going to be a million people there to answer questions for you. So that's a pinball tournament. What is Pinball League? This is really important to me, I think. Pinball League was my intro to competitive pinball. I have to go back. There we go. Nope, that's... Here we go. Nope, here we go. There we go. What is a pinball league? So a pinball league plays over the course of a few weeks. Usually, one night a week. Over about 5 to 10 weeks, I've seen typical is of most leagues. It's a lesser time commitment. It might only be about an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours of playing, as opposed to taking all day on a Saturday. It's something that you can just do on a Thursday night. I play Thursday night at 7:30 with my friends in New Hampshire. The other thing is, like New England Pinball League, you can miss a couple weeks and it won't really affect your score that much. It's a lot more casual. It's a lot more social. It's less competitive. Hey, we all want to win, but it's for people who are. It's for everybody, really. It's for the most competitive players and the least competitive players that just want to go out and have a good time and say hello to people and have something to do on a Thursday night. It's a great way to get started. It's how I got started. It's how a lot of people in New England get started. We have a lot of locations that run the New England Pinball League, and they're really good at roping new people in. You score points in your league every week, and at the end of the league period, there's a finals that you might qualify for. There's some local pinball leagues too, and don't let me forget, there's one more that I forgot to include an image of. There's the New England Pinball League, which we play at 30-something locations now. And if you have a location near you, if you have a pinball place near you in New England, it is likely they play in the New England Pinball League. Ask people that play there. It's a really great thing, and we have a finals every 4 months where we go and we all gather in the same place, a few hundred players from all over New England, and it's a really fun thing. There's the New York Pinball League if you're in the New York area. It's a team league, a lot more casual. You're on a team with a bunch of players. You play like split flipper games, doubles games, lots of fun stuff. And then there's the Port City Pinball League that plays in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I don't remember what day of the week they play when they restart, but that's a fun league if you're in the Portsmouth area. And then there's also the Connecticut, Rhode Island area Pinball League that plays at the Sanctum and Pizza J's in Rhode Island. So if those are local locations to you, that's a great place to play. Great people to play with. A typical night at a pinball league is a lot more casual. The doors will open at maybe 6:30. We show up, we start playing our practice games, we sign in. At 7:30, the host is going to call everybody's attention, stop playing your practice games, and everybody gets played in 3 to 4 player groups. And we each play 4 games, just with your group, same people, get to know them if you don't know them already. Usually that'll take an hour and a half, hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we have a score for the night. We just have a fun time playing casual games until Chris kicks us out at 10:30. And your scores are added to the website, and you will qualify for finals based on how you score over the course of the season. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about youth players in pinball. I think this is a really important thing, bringing new players into the hobby. Um, the pinball community is very kid friendly for the most part, and most tournaments are kid friendly. Every once in a while, there'll be a tournament at a bar that's 21 plus, but for the most part, people are really cool about people bringing their kids or young players showing up, teens, college age kids. Not the typical demographic for pinball nowadays, but we like to see the tide shifting on that a little bit. A lot of the best players in the world are 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. I think most of the top 10 players in the world are that young. And they're all kids whose parents were really into it and were brought into it from a young age. And they've had some really enriching experiences getting into pinball at that age. I have to acknowledge that there are some barriers to entry for young players. Like I said earlier, like there are tournaments that are at bars that are 21 plus that even with a guardian, the kid might not be able to get into. Um, it's I think especially hard for unaccompanied minors whose parents aren't into pinball, might not be bringing them to that tournament that they might need an adult to bring them to. Um, might not have won't have a PayPal account if their parent isn't registering them for tournaments themselves. So I just think as TDs, maybe we could do better at navigating those accommodations. That was jargon, but that was for the people who understand the jargon. I want to bring up my friend Adam Meter to talk a little bit about youth players in pinball. Adam is the father of Seamus Meter. They're both very accomplished tournament players in New England. And I'd just like to have Adam talk for a few minutes about his background in pinball, Seamus's background in pinball, and what pinball has meant for you two over the past few years.
Yeah, so I'm Seamus's dad. A lot of you guys know him because he's kind of known. He's a very good pinball player. He's ranked 14th now, Shay, in the youth division in the world. Overall, he's under 1,000, and I would say there's 5,000, I think, or maybe more.
What's your experience been like getting into?
It's been fantastic. We meet lots of amazing people. We've traveled from Maryland to Pennsylvania, New York, playing, competing in pinball tournaments. It's just been fun. We meet people from just accepting.
And have you seen any like barriers to entry to trying to get?
I think this is in Oregon. They had a problem getting into bar tournament. As far as tournaments around here, not so much. You said there's lots of house tournament and other leagues that play. They're not necessarily bars. Pizza J's is great. Sherry. Any other questions?
No, not really. No, thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Can I be heard?
Yes. Yes, Seamus is a very accomplished player. He has kicked my butt many, 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 many times. I think if you go on my IFPA page, my record against Seamus is 0-35-1. But that one is a draw, and I think Seamus was 14 at that time. So, very happy to have Adam talk. Since I just talked about youth players, I feel like I should be talking about the Bells and Chimes as well. The Bells and Chimes are a nationwide organization for advancing women and non-binary people in pinball, and they have local chapters. Here's two of our local chapters, Boston Bells and Chimes and the Connecticut Bells. They put on a lot of really great events. It's really awesome. It's not about like women not being able to compete with the men. All of these women basically play in the open tournaments too, and some of them are very, 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 very good. You know, our New Hampshire state champion is a woman, but she organizes a lot of these events too, and it's really kind of a networking thing. It's awesome. We've gotten a lot of new people into pinball through Boston Bells and Connecticut Bells specifically. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, I would encourage you to look up information about your local chapter because, yeah, it's really awesome. And they have a club room here. Thank you, Dave. They have a club room in the club room hall. If you don't know, it will be close to where our Friendly Flippers tournament will be later, down past the bar restaurant area, and it's going to be kind of far down on your right, the Bells room. Yeah, it's awesome. The people there are really cool. Talk to the people at the desk if you're interested, and they'll let you know what you need to know about your local chapter. I want to talk about some things that scare people away from competitive pinball, and things scarier than the Bram Stoker's Pinball Dracula machine with that walks the ball really scary across the playfield. Oh, that's a few slides. Here we go. Entry fees and prize money. This is something that it's not easy to talk about in pinball to new players. So tournaments are typically going to have like an entry fee. If you're playing at somebody's house, you'll toss them $10 just instead of, you're not putting coins in their games just for the maintenance in their games. But there's going to be some sort of tournament fee most of the time that's like added to a prize pool. And the winner of the tournament, the people who score in the top three, will win the prize money. Sometimes it's just $5, sometimes it's $10, sometimes it's $20. Sometimes tournaments are pretty expensive. You're not going to win money at the tournaments when you first start. I think it's important to accept this because you need to consider what you spend on the tournament is spent money. To me, spending $25 to go play pinball all day with my friends and play in a tournament, that's totally worth it to me, and I don't expect to win any money at the end. But if I do, it's a nice bonus. It's great. The important thing is just don't spend outside your means on tournament entries hoping that you're going to make money at the end. It's not even as good as gambling. Go play the slots. You're going to lose your money to Brian O'Neill probably. So I think it's important to be realistic with yourself. If a tournament is too expensive for you, you don't have to play in it, and nobody's going to think you're a lesser player because you didn't want to play in a $50 Three Strikes tournament, which I love, by the way. Here's probably the most common thing I hear for people who are thinking about getting into it but are afraid to get into it. They're not good enough. I regret to inform you, you won't be very good when you start, but literally everybody in this hobby was bad when they started. Every single person who's played competitive pinball was once bad and got their butt kicked over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's part of the process of getting good, and nobody's going to think less of you. Nobody's going to be like, why is this guy here? This guy's slowing down the tournament. That never happens. Everybody is really happy to see new people in the hobby, and you're going to get better. The important thing is to find competitive objectives for yourself other than winning the whole thing. If you show up at your first tournament and go, I'm going to win, and then you lose. And then the next one you go, I'm going to win, and you lose. And the next one you go, I'm going to win, and you lose. You're not going to be that happy at the end of the day. So there's other things to be looking for other than winning the whole thing. Maybe you improve on your placements over time. Maybe you got 20th place last week, and then you got 17th place the next week. Maybe you get 15th place the next week. That means something. You're working towards something. You can get ranking points and boost your world ranking. If you play one tournament, you're going to be able to check on the website and see that you are ranked the 32,000th ranked player in the world. There's a lot of people in the world. To be 32,000th in something is pretty good. But you play more tournaments, you're going to jump to 25,000. You're going to jump to 20,000. You're going to jump to 15,000. And that's exciting, right? Maybe your goal is just to successfully execute a strategy you've been working on. You know on Godzilla, all right, I can start Titanosaurus, and then I start Godzilla multi-ball. And that's going to give me a good shot if I do that. And you get to do that in a game against other players. And maybe you don't win the game, maybe you don't win the tournament, but you know that you set an objective for yourself and you went out and you did it. And those are sowing the seeds of good fruit in the future competitively. Maybe your goal is just to beat a highly ranked player in a game. You know, if I have a bad tournament day, but I beat Bo and Karen's, I had a good day. I had a good day. And you know, the beautiful thing about pinball is anybody can beat anybody. I've lost to players who have hardly ever seen a pinball machine before, and I've beaten some of the best players of all time. That doesn't mean I'm as good as them. Please don't interpret that way. But in a 4-player pinball match, you have a chance against anyone, and there's something really empowering and awesome about that. And maybe your goal is just to beat a good player. Maybe your goal is just to beat your buddy. I have a friend, Brian, who shows up at every tournament. He just wants to beat his friend Mike. That's all he cares about. He just wants to beat Mike. And if he beats Mike, he's happy. He's buying us beers at the end of the day. So that's maybe that's your goal. And my goal, my number one goal, is to play good pinball. I don't care that much about how I finish in the tournament. If I feel like I played good on the games, if I didn't play bad on too many games, I know I'm working towards something and I'm having a good time. I don't win a lot of tournaments, I'll tell you that. But I'm happy when I play good pinball. And if you keep at it, you're going to get better. You're going to keep doing better. You're going to play better. You're going to place better the more you show up. And the other thing, I guess, that scares people away is maybe level of commitment, right? Some of these tournaments are really time-consuming. Some cost more time or cost more money than you're comfortable with. And you don't have to play in anything that you don't feel like is worth it. We have a lot of players in New England Pinball League that show up for New England Pinball League for the 8-week season 3 times a year, and they don't play Saturday tournaments because it's too much of a commitment for them. And we are just as happy to see those people as anybody else. We love those people. Those people are really the lifeblood of the pinball community that keeps a lot of things going outside of these big destination events. And if that's your level of commitment that you're happy with, then like power to you. You should show up to League and have an awesome time at League. You're here to have fun. You know, if playing a 8-hour, 10-hour tournament on a Saturday is not fun to you, then it's not fun to you and you don't have to do it. And what's your idea of fun? I think that's important. And at a show like this, so we have a tournament here called Silverball Rumble, where there's unlimited entries over the time period from Thursday night till about when this seminar started. And there are people that will spend the entire time putting in entries and putting. And to be fair, that's what gives you the best chance of doing well in that tournament. But there's a time balance. I put in 2 entries. You know, it took me 3 hours. This show for me is about spending time with my friends, you know, seeing some seminars, playing these little casual tournaments. For me, that's the time balance that works for me. There are some people that put in 1 card. There are some people that are competitive players that don't play that tournament at all. So, you know, it's up to you what your level of commitment is. Time check. Okay. What is the IFPA? You're going to hear about this. I don't want to bloviate about this too much. The IFPA is the International Flipper Pinball Association. It was started by a man named Roger Sharp, who, if you watched that pinball biopic last year, The Man Who Saved the Game, he's the subject of that documentary. Very interesting stuff. Not a doc, it's a biopic. It's the central governing body for competitive pinball. So there's a standardized set of rules that we all abide to when we run tournaments, and they kind of maintain that rule set. Most of the pinball competitions that you go to are going to be run under the IFPA umbrella, and they also maintain a world ranking. So when you play in tournaments, you're going to get points for playing in that tournament, and you're going to eventually see your rank climb. And the best players in the world, you can see where they're ranked at the very top, way higher than I am. And then you'll get to see tournament listings in history, and that's something I'm about to delve into right here. This is a picture of the IFPA calendar. If you go to the IFPA website, ifpa.org, you can see in one of the drop-down menus, IFPA calendar. And you plug in your location and distance radius and click the button, and it'll tell you every single tournament that is planned under the IFPA umbrella in your area. As you can see, I took this a few days ago, and it's all the tournaments from this weekend in Marlborough, Massachusetts, in this very location. But you plug in, if you're from Des Moines, Iowa, plug in Des Moines, Iowa, you'll see everything you need to see there. That's a great place to find out everything you need to know about tournaments in your area. There's also Facebook groups, local Facebook groups. Pinball, we have the New England Pinball League Facebook group here in New England, and pretty much everybody posts their tournament in those Facebook groups too. If you're on Facebook, that's helpful. There's going to be flyers at your local pinball spot a lot of the time. So keep an eye open for those if somebody's running tournaments at your local. And then some locations have their own website. And I'm sure somebody will tell you if they have a website for their place. Registering for tournaments, I won't go on too long about this. Sometimes you need to pre-register. It can be a little intimidating sometimes, but that information will be on the listing on the IFPA calendar page. And sometimes it'll be like, hey, registration is at 12 o'clock on this Saturday, and everybody logs on and just puts their name in a Google form and then PayPal $20 or something. Whoops. Oh, no. Oh, no. PayPal me $20 to get it back. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so yeah, check the listing on the IFPA page. That's going to have all the information you need to know about pre-registering for a tournament if that's necessary. Fill out the Google form, Venmo, PayPal somebody. And a lot of tournaments will just show up at the door. They'll say, show up. It's Thursday night at Bear Moose Brewing Company at 7 o'clock. Show up with your $5. And so those are the easier ones. Those tend to be the more casual ones. The more serious tournaments that'll have caps on entry that they're worried about hitting will have a pre-registration process. Match play, something I also don't want to spend too much time talking about. If you could blow this up a little bit larger. Thank you. So this is the web app where we have our tournament. We do all the organization for the tournament. This saves the tournament director, the person in charge, from having to do too much pen and paper. It organizes the matches automatically and sends people to the games. If you play in a tournament, you'll have a profile for you automatically made on Match Play. You just have to register under it. And this is where you get to see the current game that you're on, who you're playing against, what round it is, what the standings are. But you won't have to know too much about it. It'll be on a big TV in the venue a lot of the time. And you'll have people in your group that understand how to use it. And you won't have to think about it too much if you don't want to think about it. But this is where all the tournament info is as far as what game you're playing and everything. I'm going to go over competitive formats a little bit. But the most important thing here is that you just play the game that you're told to play with the people you're playing against, and you do as well as you can, and you tell them how you did afterwards, and everything else will be taken care of. But quickly, we have something called match play, which is just you play against people, a 3 or 4 player group against people, and you report your results, and then you get to play against new people. And then there's some sort of point threshold usually, or time threshold or round threshold at which the tournament ends eventually. Strikes. We play in 4-player groups. If you finish 3rd or 4th on a game, you get a strike. 3 strikes, you're out. Pretty simple. Flip Frenzy and Max Match Play. These are like fun formats where you're going to get put 1v1 against people and play a bunch of 1v1 games. And then your record in those games will determine how you do. And then there's card qualifying, like the Silver Ball Rumble, our big tournament here, where This is for the big, serious tournaments, generally, and you're going to play solo games, and your score on that solo game will be compared to everybody else's score that played in it over the course of the event. That's a little bit of a simplification. There's some nuance to the different types, but that's the basic gist. We have silly formats. We do too. Like The Amazing Race is my favorite one. If you've ever seen the TV show, the idea is that everybody, let's say there's 20 people play the same game, and the lowest ranked score in that game is eliminated. And then 19 people play a different game, and the lowest ranked person is eliminated until there's just one person left. And we've had some fun with that recently. That's a really good one. Here, if you want to find out anything more about this, on the Match Play website, on the sidebar at the very bottom here, there's a link called Handbook that has all the information about all the formats that you don't really need to know about. And yeah, if you have any questions, everything is there. They do a really good job updating that resource. All right, I'm going to talk about some do's and don'ts in competitive pinball. Some things to look out for, some things to do. Pay coin drop. If you're at the location, if you're at a public location like a bar or a restaurant or an arcade, the machines will take quarters. And so before the game starts, make sure everybody puts their quarters or their dollar in the game so that you can start a 4-player game. Make sure you start the game with the correct number of players. If you have 4 players in your group, press the start button 4 times. If you have 3 players in your group, press it 3 times. Bad things happen when the wrong number of players is started in the game. Check the game for notes with important info. You'll see there's a note on this copy of Matahari right here that says plunge extra balls. That's important in a tournament. Sometimes it'll tell you things about the game-specific rules. Sometimes it'll tell you things like that to avoid getting disqualified for the game. So always check before you plunge your first ball if there's anything you need to know about that specific copy of the game. Oftentimes, the host will tell you this beforehand if you're listening. Do chat with your group mates. This is a social experience. That's why 99% of us are here. Ask them questions. Ask them questions about the tournament. Ask them questions about where they're from, where they play league, where they play pinball. Ask them questions about the game. How do you get multi-ball on Godzilla? People are really happy to share information. People are really happy to socialize. Yeah, partake in that. Compliment others. Tell them if they have a nice ball. Tell them if they had a great game. Tell them if that mode into multi-ball stack they had was awesome. You know, be nice to people. People love hearing that stuff. And as a new player, you'll like hearing it from an experienced player too when they tell you like, actually, that was awesome. And do bring cookies. You know, unless you're at a restaurant where they serve food and they would be mad at you for that kind of thing. People like goodies. Bring goodies. It'll endear you to the people. Some don'ts, right? Don't crowd the game, Alyssa. Don't stand too close to the player who's playing on the machine. Don't stand at the side of the game where you're kind of next to the screen. Don't hover over their shoulder. Don't stand within kicking range. There are some people that are very physical players and kick when they play, and you don't want to be kicked by them. Don't talk to your group mate while they're playing a ball. When people are playing the ball, they want to be left alone. And if you feel like you have something to tell them, it can wait until after the ball is over, unless there's a fire and they can't hear the alarm. Then tell them. Don't wander off. If you just played your ball and you're like, oh, I'm going to go outside for a smoke. If you have to go to the bathroom, if you have to go to the bar and refill your drink, and you feel like that can be done in a reasonable amount of time, these things are okay, but please tell your group mates, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. Otherwise, they're not going to know where you are when it's back to your turn, and it's not fun. Your ball might get plunged. Don't play at a turn. Make sure if you're player 3, you're always playing player 3. If player 2 gets an extra ball and a shoot again, don't launch their extra ball. You will be disqualified from the game. Not the whole tournament, but the game, and that's no good. Don't play extra balls. This is in 95% of pinball tournaments, this is a pretty standard rule. If you get an extra ball in a game, unless they very specifically tell you to play it, You just walk up. You can set up your skill shot by pressing any buttons you got to press before you plunge. But then once you've released the plunger, it's hands off and it's off to the next player. Don't abuse the machine, please. These are really expensive games, and the people love them and take really good care of them and have to repair them. Don't smash the glass. Don't put your drink on the glass. Don't pick up the machine and drop it on its front legs. You wouldn't believe people do that. That's not a nice thing to do to a game. Please be nice to the games. Don't death save or bang back. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. You're not going to do that accidentally. If you know what it is, don't do it. It's an illegal maneuver. It's fun to do maybe on Euro games or the games who belong to somebody who likes you on location. But don't do it in a tournament. You'll get disqualified from the game. And the number one rule is don't be a jerk. Please be nice to people. We're all here for the same reason, is to have fun. Please be nice. Almost everybody in pinball is really, 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 really nice. Please continue to contribute to that reputation. I want to talk about the Friendly Flips Tournament in probably about 20 minutes at the Southern New Hampshire Pinball Room. And all of you who are new players, new and barely experienced players, will be eligible for this tournament. It's in 20 minutes, right at the conclusion of this seminar at 3 o'clock in the Southern New Hampshire Pinball Room. If you don't know where that is, I will be leading you like the Pied Piper on to the next room. And they're going to be passing around, Jerica and Will are going to be passing around a sign-up sheet. If anybody wants to sign up for this tournament, you have first dibs. Please, if you are an experienced player, if you've been to more than a couple, 2 or 3 tournaments, please don't sign up for this. This is just for fun for the people who have never really played competitive pinball and want to get into an environment that it's going to be all new people and no players to be scared about. There's no tournament free. If you're in this room, you've paid for Pintastic admission. You can play in the tournament for free. It's going to be a short format, 4 rounds of 1 game each. Probably won't take more than an hour and a half or something. And no early elimination. Nobody's going to take 3 strikes and go out immediately. And then there's going to be a 1-game final to determine the champ. And I believe there might be some T-shirts or something in play. Something. There's going to be something in play. It's not going to be a big cash prize, but there's going to be something worth playing for that you'll be happy to win in the end. And coaching is allowed and encouraged. There's going to be a lot of people there to help out with the new people, tell them what they need to know about tournament play, tell them what they need to know about the game, anything you want to know. I believe people will be walking around with, see, Jerica has this beautiful glow stick on her neck. We'll all be walking around, the volunteers, with the big glow sticks on our necks. So you can come and find us if you have any questions, even if it's during a ball, which is not allowed in IFPA rated tournaments, but this is not an IFPA rated tournament. This is for super funsies. And yeah, so I really, really, really hope to see a lot of you there. This is right after the conclusion of the seminar in the Southern New Hampshire Club Room. It won't run for a long time, and I think it would be a really fun thing for new people. I really wish when I was going to Pinburg in 2017 that somebody had roped me into something like this, and I would have started playing competitive pinball 4 years earlier and changed my life in a major, 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 major way 4 years earlier. And yeah, so I really hope to see some of you there and meet some really cool people. Now it's time to take some questions. Does anybody have any questions? Saw that hand first. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that normally, yeah, I mean, it's fine. Yeah, sure. It won't run much longer than that. I don't think you'll be missing out on more than 1 round. So, yeah, that's fine.
Next question.
Next question on how the scoring actually works. How many points you get, or how you
So I'll give an example based on our format in New England Pinball League, right? So you play in a 4-player group, and you each play 4 games. The first place on each game gets 7 points, and then it's 5 points, and then it's 3, and then it's 1. So the worst possible score you can get on a night is a 4, and the highest possible score you can get on a night is a 28. And there are some people that get 28s every night. And so a 16 is about an average score. And then, your score over the course of the season is going to be your 6 best scores out of 8 put together. And that sorts us through all 400 players into finals, NEPL finals, which is an exciting time. It depends on your league location, right? If you're in the Port City Pinball League, they only have one location, and they play at finals at Port City in Portland. I keep saying that, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. But New England Pinball League finals, where we play all over New England, we have 2 finals locations that we shuffle between: the Western Mass Pinball Club in Three Rivers, Massachusetts, near Sturbridge, and Arcadia, which is a place in Portland, Maine. Oh, Western Mass. Does anybody... Western Mass, Seamus. Okay, cool. So like 75 games at Western Mass, 45-50 at Arcadia. So enough to...
would tell you how many games and what the names are.
Yeah, Seamus is the expert on that information. What's pinballmap.com? Thank you. That's a great question. Pinballmap.com. Maybe it's .org. I don't know. Google Pinball Map. It'll give you a listing of all the locations that have pinball in your area. Not necessarily competitive, but the just the places that you can go play, go practice, go meet people. And thank you. Good question. So the question was, do you play the same game 4 times or different games? You'll get set to 4 different games. Yep. Mm-hmm. You may, in a larger tournament, get asked to play the same game 2 times in the tournament or more. Not usually. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, back there. That's a good question. So that's something you'll definitely see the more experienced players do. Nudge the machine, move the machine, rock it a bit, slap it a bit in a tasteful way. The penalty for moving the game too much is that you tilt the game. You lose your ball. Well, first of all, you don't move it in a way that is going to hurt the game. You could get disqualified from the tournament at the game. But when you watch players play, you'll learn where that barrier is. I think it's fairly obvious what hurting the game looks like. But if you move the game too much, you'll tilt. Your ball ends. You don't get a bonus. There's a saying in pinball, if you ain't tilting, you ain't trying. You should be moving the game to kind of see what you can get away with. And the more you move the game, the more you push the boundaries of how you can move the game, the more you'll learn where that line is, be able to interpret where that line is on a new game that you walk up to. And that's a really big, important thing in pinball, being able to control the ball and being able to nudge it against every surface that you can nudge it against. Really helps you get that kind of control to take controlled shots in the game.
Any other questions?
I got a last question.
One more. Okay.
What happens in a tournament if the ball gets stuck?
Oh, that's a good question. Thank you. I should have covered that actually. Yeah, if you have a stuck ball in a tournament, raise your hand or alert your group mates if they're not already watching. They'll call a TD over. They'll usually have you hold the ball on your flipper, and then the TD will come over, come take the glass off, and then they'll take the ball and they'll put it on your flipper and then put the glass back on, and then you start the game again. So it can be a little distracting sometimes, taking you out of the flow, but we're able to get the game started again once that kind of thing happens.
Okay, so my final question. When you've played N tournaments, you should then go to the IFPA website and read the rules and, learn all the rules and stuff. What is N? How many tournaments when you played this many, you've got to find out all those rules. And
I don't think there is really a concrete answer to that question. I think it really varies person to person. I think there are people that just show up to Pinball League and they play their games and they have a good time and they never really learn what all the different formats and all the different things are. And I think that's like awesome and like totally valid and cool. And there are some people that play 2 tournaments and they're 100% in and they have to learn everything. And that is also cool. And I think it's really great that in pinball really allows for all that different room of involvement and engagement. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm really, really, really delighted that all of you came. Thank you.